Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk Blu-rays here, and in anticipation of slash prepping for folks that watch this channel to go through the indicator sale, which should be happening starting today, I thought I would go through and just kind of, talk about some of my favorites. Some movies that I think you should consider picking up during this sale because, as I said in my Indicator Columbia Noir set video, they are one of my favorite labels. And again, as you can see, all the box sets back there, I mean, obviously those are all recommended. I'm not going to emphasize box sets as much because I figure if you're interested in those, you're going to dive in, whereas the single titles you might be more likely to take a chance on and or blind buy if you haven't seen them. So definitely one of the William Castles. I think one of them's out of print. I'm not sure which is still in print. But let's get underway here, and I'll start with this. Cisco Pike from 1971. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite Blu-ray release of 2020, in part because of the extras and the great care taken by Indicator, but in part because this is a very rare film that I have become a huge fan of over the years, and it has been no easy feat to see it for a long time. So I was really excited this one came out. It's basically about a broken down musician played by Mr. Chris Christopherson, who lives with his girlfriend played by Karen Black in the Venice area of California. We see him opening the movie by walking through the canals of Venice, which I find to be very cinematic. And we soon find out that he's sort of down on his luck. He's trying to sell his old acoustic guitar, and he has sort of dealt with issues with the law, specifically a vice cop played by Gene Hackman, who is he's a little unstable, he's a little odd, and he finds himself knocking on the door of Cisco Pike to try to get him to help with selling some marijuana. Basically, the gist of the story seems to be that Gene Hackman's cop character has either borrowed some money or owes some money and needs like 10 grand. And so he is sort of taking on the idea of having somebody sell off this weed for him so that he can then use that money to pay off his debts or whatever. It's not exactly clear what he owes the money for. That said, it's a really interesting dynamic to watch the two of them together, and then to see Cisco sort of going through his, not Rolodex, but people that he knows trying to sell weed. One of them is Harry Dean Stanton, who's incredible in this movie and is an old friend. And so there's kind of a hangout vibe to it, but it definitely has that 70s flavor, and I just love it. It's got a really nice audio commentary with director Bill L. Norton and film historian Elijah Drenner, who I'm a big fan of. And Elijah also does something called Walking Contradictions, Cisco Pike Then and Now, which is a 10-minute revisiting the LA locations of the film kind of thing. So that's really great. And then there's something called Ode to Joy, which is a film, sort of a documentary, about 43 minutes, done by Kira Janice, and explores the life and career of actor Joy Bang, who's in the movie in a smaller role. So that's cool. There's a bunch more stuff on this. I'm going to try and make this quicker. I didn't mean to go so deep on Cisco Pike, but I do love it. So there's that. Next up, we have Modern Romance, one of my favorite comedies of all time, and definitely one that maybe will have to grow on you if you don't know Albert Brooks' style or the way that he does characters that are very much, flaws in front. He plays a film editor who is working on basically like an AIP production of a science fiction movie with George Kennedy, and James L. Brooks plays the director, and that's a whole thing. So it's like a behind the Hollywood kind of story kind of thing, but then it's also about his romance with this woman who works at a bank, played by Catherine Harold. And it's a thing where they have a physical connection, but in terms of the things they have in common, it's not so much. And so they're kind of very on again, off again. And so the opening of the movie is them breaking up, and then he's sort of struggling through that breakup for the next couple days while, trying to deal with what's going on with the movie and everything. And it's just one of my favorite comedies. There's so much funny stuff in here. I won't even get into it. There's a scene with he and his brother, Super Dave Osborne, trying to sell him shoes. It's one of my favorite things ever. And just in general, he's not a particularly likable character, but the movie is still incredibly hilarious anyway. So I don't know. I just love it. It's got a great commentary from Nick Pinkerton, and it is an all-region disc. I should say that this is region B locked. I'll try and indicate where things are region B locked, and there are going to be those in this stack, okay? Next up, we have Fat City, John Huston's film from 1972. A really great boxing movie, but more a down-on-their-luck character drama about two boxers that sort of encounter each other. A young one played by Jeff Bridges, and an older, again, sort of over-the-hill type played by Stacy Keach, who has become sort of a barfly and is taken to hanging out with Susan Terrell, who's also really good in this movie. And you sort of see the two, the older and the younger, sort of become friends, and Keach's character sort of takes on the younger guy in sort of a mentor relationship, but ultimately, it's a downbeat kind of drama, but it's incredibly well done and well acted. And this one is also all region. It's got a Lem Dobbs and Nick Redmond commentary from the Twilight Time Blu-ray, and it also has a documentary, 55-minute documentary featuring interviews with Stacy Keach and Candy Clark, as well as casting director Fred Roos and assistant cameraman Gary Vidor. But just a really great 70s film, one of the best sports movies of the 70s, and just a really powerful and memorable drama. We're big fans of this one on Pure Cinema. Next up, Road Games. Okay, I know what you're thinking here. I've already bought Road Games. I bought it from an Umbrella. I bought it from Stream Factory. Well, this is the one. This is the definitive edition in my mind. It has, I think, basically everything that you get on those editions. I don't think you're missing anything. This is Region B locked. I do apologize for that. But it is really, really a wonderful edition from Indicator. And it comes with an incredibly nice bound. But I think this limited version comes with a nice bound booklet, Really nice stuff, and a poster. I think you can still get this limited, and I would recommend jumping on it if it is still available, because the limiteds do sell out, and they're nice, I mean, the other limiteds that probably aren't available anymore is Night Tide. Same kind of thing, comes with a nice booklet, is a multi-disc set, and I'm a big fan of that movie. And then, of course, one of my favorite Blu-ray releases of all time, Night of the Demon. I think these are available as singles now, where you can get the discs themselves, and I do recommend that. Definitely get Night of the Demon as a single. That's a must-have, right? Anyway, my point is you got to jump on those limiteds. They're worth your time and worth grabbing when they are on sale. So then we have Little Murders. This is another Region B locked disc. This is a 1971 film directed by actor Alan Arkin, based on a play by Jules Feiffer, I believe. Yes. And it's an absurdist black comedy, sort of about Elliot Gould plays a photographer in New York who takes pictures of dog poop, for lack of a better description. That's one of his big things. And he's become sort of at a point where he can't feel anything anymore. And he's being mugged. I can't remember, at some part of the city. And this woman encounters him, and she decides she's somehow attracted to him, and I don't really remember how or why, but she decides she's going to sort of make him into the man that she wants. And she brings him home to her family, and there's just a lot of absurdist banter with her family. There's also an incredible amount of murders happening in the city. There's like unsolved murders and snipers and crazy stuff that comes into play. There's a really incredible cameo by Donald Sutherland as sort of a priest, sort of. That's a really interesting bit. But just a great Gould performance. He has a really neat soliloquy / speech where he's talking to a guy on the phone that he thinks is tapping his phone and reading his mail. And it's just this immaculate speech that I love, that you should definitely check this movie out for. But anyway, this one has not been released outside of this. It is a Fox movie, so I wouldn't expect it to get a release anytime soon. Disney's not going to make this one a priority. But definitely one of the great films of the 70s that is underseen and unsung. Next up, this has a Kino release in the States, but this is the better version. This is a Region B lock disc as well. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, including a feature-length documentary containing interviews with actor Andy Robinson and Jacqueline Scott, stunt driver Craig R. Baxley, and Siegel's son. This is directed by Don Siegel. This is just a great crime movie with Charlie Varick as this guy who realizes he's robbed a bank with mob money in it, and then he has to figure out a way to stay alive after that. It's like, you can't really give the money back. You got to figure out a way to get away. And Joe Don Baker is in this. He's very good as well. But I love this. Another great 70s movie. There are trailer commentaries from Trailers from Hell from Larry Karaszewski does Little Murders. I think Josh Olson does this one. I'll try and include them in the notes if I can think of it. But if I don't, check them out at Trailers from Hell. They're both great trailer commentaries. You know what? Let's do this next. Blue Collar, another one that has a Kino disc here, but this is, again, the superior release. Also Region B locked. It's got a Paul Schrader BFI Masterclass, 106 minutes with Paul Schrader. And the audio commentary you can get on the Kino disc, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff here that you can't. Keith Gordon on Blue Collar, just that 12-minute little appreciation is worth the price of this one. But, again, another one of my 70s favorites about some auto workers in Detroit, played by Yaphet Kotto, Richard Pryor, and Harvey Keitel, and sort of their dynamic and how the union and the factory where they work generally pits them against each other. It's comedic and serious and a message movie all in one. It's really unique and powerful, and has a great ending and great performances from the three leads. Really great stuff. Love Blue Collar. Sorry, I'll throw this one real quick in here. Eyes of Laura Mars with Faye Dunaway and Tommy Lee Jones. This is Irvin Kershner's film. From the director of Empire Strikes Back comes an American giallo film. That's basically what this is. And I'm not going to go too deep on this one. If you know the film, it's definitely worth owning. And this is a nice addition. This one is all region, so you can pick it up, and you've got a bunch of extras here. I think there is a bare bones stateside release of this, but this is the one you want. You definitely want to pick this up if it's available during the sale. Just a couple more here. The Last Detail, again, another 70s gem. One of my favorites from the 70s, Hal Ashby, Nicholson at the height of his powers. This one is all region as well. And it has, I think, all of the Twilight Time stuff and more. So you're getting some new stuff. Alexander Payne does an introduction. There's also a 16-minute appreciation by Alexander Payne. Search for the Truth, an interview with Robert C. Jones, an interview with Michael Chapman, the DP. So lots of great extras, as we always see from Indicator. Definitely snag The Last Detail, one of the great 70s movies, if you're into that sort of thing. And then in terms of singles, the last one I'll call out is Devil in a Blue Dress, Carl Franklin's follow-up feature to One False Move. This is just a great film noir update with Denzel Washington and a stunning performance by Don Cheadle. But yeah, I talked about this one in my favorites of the 2020 video, but this one is Region B locked. You would need the Region free player to play it, but it's got some nice extras, including Don Cheadle's screen test and a Q&A interview with Carl Franklin done by Eddie Muller. But a very good release of this film from them. And then last but not least, this box set is out of print. This is the Tall Tales Bedecker box set. But you can get these as singles now. And I will say this one is a must. The Tall T. One of my favorite Westerns, and definitely one of my favorite Bedecker Westerns with Randolph Scott. I mean, these are all great. I do recommend, Comanche Station is really good. Let's see here. This one has Decision at Sundown in it as well. And Comanche Station, no, that one's by itself. Buchanan Rides Alone has Ride Lonesome, which is one of my other favorites. Really good, stripped down, 1950s Westerns. You can see these as the evolutionary step between, traditional 50s Westerns and then what would become the spaghetti Western movement of the 60s. I'm not saying they're directly connected, but if you watch them, you kind of feel like this is getting darker and grittier, kind of like Leone would. And so I like to see them as bridging the gap between the two. Anyway, that is a whole bunch of Indicator titles that I recommend you check out during this sale. And definitely check out my other Indicator videos. I'll leave links to those below in the notes. But pick up some Indicator. Support them. They're one of the best labels out there, and I'm a huge fan. Okay, bye guys.